We got a live, packed show for everybody. Unironically today, Justin Spears is on the pod. And you know, anytime Spears is here, usually Damon Dog is not. But we have Damon Dog here today. We have Justin Spears here today. We have all the Avengers. We just need a couple more Infinity Stones, maybe like an Erica Day in the mix to really have it all. But we have it all for you anyway on the AZ Wildcats podcast in 30 seconds. Don't you go anywhere.
Welcome on in, guys, to the AZ Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Damon Fairall. I'm with my guy, Kevin Thomas, as always, or should I say, per usual. But we are here in beautiful downtown Phoenix on another lovely May day. It's been unseasonably nice outside, Kevin.
Correct. You got some rain?
Yeah, it rained in my drive over today. It was kind of weird.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, gotta love it, man. Anytime you can get a little impromptu overcast day in the hot Arizona summer, it's a good one, right?
1,000%.
And yeah, just living life here on a Wednesday here at PHNX HQ2. Everybody, I hope you guys are having a great morning, great afternoon here at the very start. Drop a like on this video if you haven't done so already. Let's run those likes up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already as well. And as Kevin said, we do have our guy Justin Spears in the fold today. So without further ado, why don't we bring Justin on? We don't want to take too much of his time up. But Justin, I was talking with Kevin a little bit off air right before we started. It's like tear away the days since, Damon missed a Justin Spears podcast, because we were at like a streak of 2 and now we're right back to 1 again.
Well, aloha, brother. Hope you had a good trip to Hawaii. I mean, if we're going to break the streak, it might as well be ended by you taking a great trip to Hawaii. So I'm not upset at you, but let's start a new streak, man.
Yeah.
Let's get on a roll. All right.
I'm all for it. Yeah, I mean, it was a lovely trip. It was much needed, especially after the season at hand and, kind of just gearing up for football season again. But yeah, it was sad when I checked out the video and I was like, oh man, I miss another one. Just feeding into that narrative, brother.
Just out of curiosity, how much Spam did you eat over there? Did you have any Spam? What was the best thing you ate?
I did eat a lot of Spam. I believe I told Kevin I spammed Spam. So pretty much every breakfast meal that was the meat of choice. When they would ask, you want some Portuguese sausage, you want some Spam? I was, bring me the Spam, brother. Get me some Spam musubi. I mean, I was living it up with the Spam. So I hope that's the answer you were looking for.
Dude, when in Rome, man, you got to do it. Now, are you like a Spam aficionado? Are you going to start eating more Spam, or was that only a Hawaii thing?
Like that could be definitely a thing that and Kevin and I were talking about this not that long ago. Like, it can't be too hard to make your own musubi. My problem is that I can't make sticky rice. And I think that that's where I need to start there. And then we can kind of grow into, adding that kind of Spam part to my game. But first, I feel like I have to get those other elements down. But I definitely, I'd like to be a Spam guy here in the mainland, as we like to call it, us locals.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good time out there in Hawaii. Glad you had a good vacation. And I know we're going to talk about a lot of U of A football stuff and other things happening in U of A athletics. But, man, you brought up the Avengers. And I'm not the biggest superhero guy, right? I'm not the biggest Marvel guy. My superhero of choice is Batman. It will always be Batman. But I got to say, man, I went and saw Thunderbolts last weekend in theaters. That is a solid movie. And a lot of Marvel fans are saying, like, this is one of the better Marvel movies that have been released. So can't recommend it enough. Go check out the new Avengers if you can.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. And I've heard that there's like a big spoiler that they released. I have somehow been able to stay in the dark on that. So I feel like I got to like run to the movie theater before it gets spoiled out for me. What about you, Kevin?
I feel like it's not the spoiler that you think. Like I think you've probably already seen the spoiler. I think unintentionally Spears has already mentioned it, but I don't think that it's like the spoiler that you might think. I think people were upset about it because there were certain branding choices related to the spoiler that maybe should or should not have been made. But I think you're in the clear here still.
Yeah, I very much feel like I'm in the dark. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, and if you guys want to see like something that's connected to the University of Arizona, highly recommend that Gilbert Arenas documentary on Netflix. It's called Shooting Guards, and it's a part of the Untold series, and it goes into the whole locker room dispute that involved guns between Gil and Javaris Crittenton.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of stuff that really opened up my eyes. I had no idea about. Like without spoiling the entire documentary, but Gilbert, his fascination for guns started when he was at the U of A. And his girlfriend at the U of A, her father had this massive gun collection. And Gilbert said, when I go to the NBA, I'm going to buy your gun collection. And sure enough, he bought a lot of guns from him. And then whenever the Wizards would be in Arizona to play against the Phoenix Suns, he would go to a gun store, buy some guns. And then because they're on NBA planes, they don't go through TSA and all the high-level security. They just get it right on the tarmac and get right up on the plane. So he's taking these guns from Arizona, putting it on a plane, and then taking it back to Washington, D.C., or wherever next road trip they had to go. And Gilbert said when he was suspended after that whole gun incident, he said he felt like the NBA gave him that 50-game suspension, not because of the actual incident, because nobody got hurt, even though David Stern, I mean, he don't play like that. Like, don't ever test David Stern because he's going to lay down the hammer and send a message. But Gilbert said, the reason why I felt like this is the reason why I got the 50-game suspension was because of how I acquired the guns, because I was using NBA team planes to quote unquote traffic the guns back home to Washington, D.C. But yeah, man, if you have an hour and a half, go watch Shooting Guards on Netflix. It's definitely a good watch.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that. I believe, was it yesterday or the day before, where it said that he had 460 guns at the time of the Javaris Crittenton incident, which is like unheard. I mean, that's so crazy to me. But also, yeah, just a really interesting story, I think, as well. And also kind of just ironic, like popped in my head, like the Wizards used to be the Bullets, and they changed the Bullets from the Wizards to be more PC, to get away from the like kind of gun narrative around the team. And then you got, the guy who was the face of the Wizards pulling guns on people in the locker room. Just kind of a crazy like irony story there.
But see, he didn't pull a gun on anybody. So there was this whole dispute. And I don't want to spoil the documentary for the listeners or viewers who haven't watched it yet. But
real quick, Spears, it is funny that you keep saying not to spoil the documentary, because documentaries are things that just happened in all of our lives.
True.
You know what I mean?
That's true. That is true. But so the whole dispute over a card game and gambling debt, it got heated. And one thing that Javaris Crittenton was told when he first got traded from my Los Angeles Lakers to the Wizards was, don't get involved in Gil's antics. They told him that. And he was like, what do you mean Gil's antics? Like, okay, whatever, I can handle that. And then the first experience of Gil's antics happened on a plane when they were all playing cards. And it was like JaVale McGee and I think Earl Boykin and Javaris Crittenton, and they were all having like a 3-man card game. And then they're having a dispute because I think Earl gave JaVale McGee like $200 to play cards on the plane. And then JaVale McGee won like 3 big pots and got a bunch of money. And then Javaris Crittenton was like, hey, man, why don't you go ahead and give him his $200 back? And JaVale was like, no, I'll give you a little bit and I'll give you the rest when we land. And they had this whole like dispute. Like it had nothing to do with Javaris Crittenton's money. And all of a sudden, Gil wakes up from a nap, takes off his headphones. It's like, what the hell are you guys arguing about? And they explained to him the whole situation. And Gil was like, well, Javaris, I know you're not saying anything about people owing people money when you owe me a boatload of money. And it got into this whole like argument. And then it got so intense that I think like somehow guns got involved. And then Gil told Javaris Crittenton, I don't think you got the cojones to shoot me. And he was like, oh, you really want to test me like that? And then they went home, they landed, they all went in their cars, and then they went home. And then Gilbert was like, I'm not going to really like be about this life, but I'm just trying to show off my gun collection. Cause remember, I told you he's got 460 guns. So he's like sitting there like, what guns am I going to show off when I bring him to the locker room? And
Crazy
he picked
sentence.
out, and he picked out 2 guns and went to the locker room, laid them out right in front of Javaris Crittenton's locker. And he was like, no, I need to put a note. And so he said, I think pick one, like whatever gun you choose, that's the one you're going to shoot me with. And Javaris Crittenton was so nervous about this whole thing that he actually brought his own gun to the locker room. And so Javaris Crittenton picked up one of Gil's guns and was like, I don't need your stupid gun, and throws it across the locker room. And Nick Young and Andre Blatch are like, oh no, like they're worried that this gun's going to go off. And so it doesn't go off. And Javaris Crittenton pulls out his own gun and points it at Gil. And then as soon as that happened, it was like, whoa, this got real. And then as soon as that happened, the temperature just kind of cooled off. And then that was the end of it. And then, of course, Peter Vexi, a longtime NBA reporter, got the story and reported on it, and it became this whole big thing. And the documentary goes into pretty much the fork in the road, right? Like Gilbert Arenas gave Javaris Crittenton essentially 2 options, like don't feed into it, just let Gilbert be Gilbert, or you can continue down this path. And it got real there for a second. And unfortunately for Javaris Crittenton, he was never able to bounce back from that. He got, traded to the Charlotte Hornets, played a little bit in China, and then got robbed a couple of times in Atlanta. And that's what led him to going down an even darker path, and it got him imprisoned. And so there's just so much jam-packed into a 90-minute documentary. Mm-hmm. And, one of the things that, I really took away from Gilbert was, he was always a prankster. He was always a jokester, but he will be the first one to tell you, like, I took it too far and I regret it because it drastically changed Javaris Crittenton's life, and I didn't mean to do that. So
that's crazy. Absolutely wild story altogether. And with, I guess that's probably a more detailed look at it than we've previously been, allowed to see. So yeah, I'm going to have to check that out. Shooting Guards. What platform is it on?
Netflix.
All right.
It's cool. On Netflix. Yeah. It's part of the Untold series, the same series that did the Manti Te'o documentary, the Malice Palace, which was the first one that I watched. And then for the PHNX listeners that are up there in Phoenix, they have one on former ASU guard Headache Smith, who shaved points when he was, gambling before it was legal. So there's a lot of interesting stories on that platform.
Yeah, Headache Smith contributing to, I believe, what is, I think, tied for the most level 1 NCAA infractions in the history of college athletics. So shout out ASU. But also, yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool documentary. I'll have to check it out for sure. And what a just group of characters on that team. I mean, you're just naming off names: JaVale McGee, Nick Young, Javaris Crittenton, Gilbert Arenas. I mean, something was bound to happen in that locker room, it seems like.
Yeah, a lot of interesting characters. And of course, Gilbert Arenas was the center of it all. And people forget Gilbert Arenas, in a good way, was a problem in the NBA. Like for a 3-year stretch, we're talking about him being in that upper tier with some of the best shooting guards, with Kobe, with Dwayne Wade. I mean, Kobe was at the height of his career, and Gilbert Arenas, I think, made a video game cover before him. He was on the cover of NBA Live 2008. Kobe didn't get on the cover until NBA 2K10. So Gilbert Arenas was that dude for a few years, and then this gun incident kind of took away his, I guess, prowess as a basketball player. But the difference between him and Javaris Crittenton was he was a really like a high paid player. Like there was a time where Gilbert Arenas wasn't even playing basketball, and he was like the second or third highest player in the league. And so he was able to collect his money and still live his life. Javaris Crittenton, not so much.
29 points per game average in that 3-year stretch that you're talking about. Pretty damn good.
That's a damn good ball player, man. And honestly, like one of the forgotten basketball players to come through Arizona. Like when you talk about some of the best NBA players from the U of A, there's a long list of guys. Gilbert Arenas is a guy that should be at the top of the list, but nobody really talks about him because he's Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, I honestly, that I'm sorry, Kevin, but it just breeds a really interesting discussion for me. Like, does he have the highest peak of any Arizona basketball player in the NBA? I'm hard pressed to think of another guy who, like, we had there. I mean, I think Sean Elliott made one All-Star game in his career. I'm pretty sure. You know, you had DeAndre Ayton obviously had an insane finals run one year, you know, with the Suns in 21. But like, I'm not sure that there was a guy who you could look at and say like that's one of the best scorers in basketball on you know, in the entire league that was an Arizona Wildcat.
Totally, man. I mean, Gilbert at one point in time was considered a top 5, top 10 player in the league. And, you know, you can give the flowers to some of these other guys that have come through the U of A, like Andre Iguodala, right? The only finals MVP. But like, I hate to break it to Arizona fans, I kind of put an asterisk next to his finals MVP because he got finals MVP because he guarded LeBron. Well, LeBron averaged a triple-double in that NBA Finals. So, like, did he really lock down LeBron James in that Finals? Like, I'm not trying to discredit Iggy and his accomplishments, but it's like, okay, he got Finals MVP because he showed the responsibility of guarding LeBron, but LeBron was still LeBron James in that series. But, you know, Iguodala made some clutch shots in that series. He was a great player, and I think that's why he got Finals MVP. But if we're talking about, like, peak, no one, I think, had a larger peak or a higher peak than Gilbert Arenas for sure.
Yeah, it's that LeBron point is funny because I think it's really solely because of the shooting percentages. I just looked it up real quick. Like LeBron averaged 36, 13, and 9 in that finals. I'm rounding up there a little bit, but that's essentially what he averaged. And he shot just under 40% from the field, which obviously for LeBron James is not, you know, what you'd expect from him. And I think that's pretty much the sole reason, that and combined with Steph not doing, you know, what it took necessarily to, you know, get that finals MVP, when I think if those voters had a chance back to vote, they probably would give it to Steph looking back on it. But
I agree.
Hey, we'll take it. We'll take it every day of the week.
Man. Absolutely, man. Former Arizona Wildcat with NBA Finals MVP. And, you know, Mike Bibby was also really good with the Sacramento Kings back in the day, too. I mean, Damon Stoudemire, Mighty Mouse. You know, we were actually talking about this on Spears and Ali earlier. You know, with the NBA playoffs happening right now, Aaron Gordon, he's had a couple of some big-time shots. You know, look at that one in Game 1 against Oklahoma City. And, you know, talk about just an awesome moment for him because, you know, Aaron Gordon shooting three-pointers, like that wasn't a thing when he came out of Arizona. Heck, even when in the early stages of his NBA career, you know, he was never really a three-point shooter. And to see him as the trailing forward on a fast break with Russell Westbrook, I know Russ wanted to tuck his head and go to the basket. I know he wanted to do it so bad, especially at OKC, but he found Aaron Gordon trailing and connected with him for a winning three. And for him to have that shot was so special. And, you know, I talked about it last week with Kevin. You know, Aaron dealing with the loss of his brother, Drew Gordon, who played at UCLA, played in New Mexico. His brother got into a tragic car accident last year in Portland and lost his life. And after that game winner against Oklahoma City, Aaron brought out his two nephews, the sons of Drew Gordon, at the post-game press conference. And Aaron is such a workhorse. He is a guy that's always in the gym grinding. And I don't know if you guys have seen his house, but he has like turned his house into like an NBA 2K My Player studio. Like he lives there, but it's also a gym and a garage. And all he does is just work his butt off. And if you look at his three-point numbers, I think last year he shot like 28% from three-point range. And this year it is now elevated to 43%. So talk about a pretty significant jump from beyond the arc. And then he's also still a really good dunker and a guy that's got great awareness, as you saw in the previous series when Nikola Jokic tried to do a fadeaway three-pointer and airballed it, and Aaron Gordon was right there to catch it for a putback slam, which was the first ever buzzer-beating dunk in NBA playoffs history. I thought it was the Valley Oop from DeAndre Ayton, but apparently there was 0.7 seconds left on the clock, so it wasn't quite a buzzer beater. But, Aaron Gordon, the plays that he's made in the NBA playoffs, I mean, you got to put it up there with the Memorial Day miracle with Sean Elliott in the 1999 Western Conference Finals after former Arizona Wildcat David Stoudemire made clutch free throws and put them up ahead. In front of like 35,000 people at the Alamo Dome, Sean Elliott makes this huge three-pointer, just kept his feet in bounds, and they were able to win that game. And then I think, honestly, probably the best play out of an Arizona Wildcat in the NBA playoffs has to be our guy Steve Kerr in the 1997 NBA Finals against the Utah Jazz. They were in that timeout break late in that game, and Michael Jordan leaned over and was like, "Hey, man, be ready. Be ready, because if you're open, we're going to give it to you." And Steve Kerr was ready. He knocked down that shot, and then he gave one of the best championship parade speeches of all time when he said, we went in that timeout break and Michael Jordan said, "Phil, I don't know if I feel comfortable in these kind of situations. Why don't we go to Steve?" And, I knocked it down and I said, "Well, I guess I got to bail Michael out again." And that's my story. And I'm going to do it. So yeah, I think Steve Kerr in his big shot in the 1997 finals is probably one of my, the most iconic moments for an Arizona Wildcat in the NBA playoffs. But man, Aaron Gordon and what he's been able to do this year has been really special to watch.
Spears, you preach to the choir over here, because Damon and I all week have been trying. We have an Aaron Gordon hater in the office. He goes by the name of Noah. He has no logical reasoning as to why he hates Aaron Gordon. He just thinks he's boring. Bad take all around. Bad take factory on the Aaron Gordon side of things there. But when you spoke about Steve Kerr and everything that he did as a professional, it kind of segues me into something else I wanted to ask you about today. Is like last night, Damon and I are here, watching all the sports, hockey, Diamondbacks, baseball.
Burning midnight oil.
Yeah, got it all going on. Midnight oil is almost burnt out. And then SportsCenter comes on, and Steve Kerr comes on rocking the retro Wilbur T-shirt. It kind of went somewhat viral in Arizona circles online. Steve Kerr reps Arizona hard. One of the biggest alum actually came back last year to graduate officially from Arizona as like an honorary something or other. But I wanted to ask you, because I feel like this is like a Justin Spears question 101. Who do you think reps Arizona the most of all the famous alum? And who do you think could do, some improvement in the repping area, I'll say, for Arizona alumni?
That's a great question. I will say, as far as like everything, I mean, Steve Kerr's up there. Teddy Bruschi always reps Arizona. Rob Gronkowski, when he was playing, he always repped the University of Arizona. So I'll probably put those guys in there. Nick Foles also reps the U of A, and he lets it known. But as far as like guys that definitely need to step up, I would say Woody Johnson, the owner of the New York Jets. Hey, how about Artie Moreno?
Yep.
The owner of the LA Angels. Like all these owners that have billions of dollars, and they never ever rep U of A. Like, as a matter of fact, I learned like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that Woody Johnson is a U of A alum. And I'm like, wait a second, the owner of the New York Jets, like Johnson & Johnson, went to the U of A? Like, what are we doing here? This guy never reps Arizona or gives back to the university. So I probably put Artie Moreno and Woody Johnson up there as people that need to rep the U of A more. And I saw one comment that said that Terry Francona also reps the U of A too. And absolutely. And not only does he rep the U of A, but he goes to a lot of basketball games. He's got his name over the right field wall at High Corbett Field for the Terry Francona Hitting Center. So, yeah, U of A loves Tito, and Tito loves the U of A.
I'll throw another name in the mix there for repping the U of A, Richard Jefferson. I think he reps Arizona very, very hard, to the point of going to war with ASU fans on Twitter and and all of the above.
Bobby Hurley.
Gotta love it, man. Gotta love
and
it.
not
But
only does he rep the U of A, but he does something that a lot of U of A basketball fans love to do, and that's hate on Duke.
yep.
That man tries to slam dunk on Duke every chance he gets whenever he's on, like, around the NBA, whenever he's on an NBA broadcast. So, yeah, RJ's definitely a good one too.
Yeah, I do concur with you completely regarding the, the sports owners that are alums that don't donate. Like, it's kind of unthinkable to me. And I know that, like, obviously we all do this job because we love sports so much, and we love the University of Arizona in particular so much, right? And so if we had that money, of course, that'd be the first thing we'd do would be donating to NIL and whatnot. But it's crazy to think that these people have the power single-handedly to flip this football program on its head and, make it a genuine contender in the Big 12 conference year in and year out. And they just kind of choose not to, despite the fact that they clearly love sports, which is the craziest part, because you think that I could wrap my head around a billionaire that it does not care about sports at all and is like, hands off, why would I donate to that? That means nothing to me. But what I can't understand is the guy who loves sports so much that he owns an NFL football team and he still refuses to donate to his alma mater. It makes no earthly sense to me at all.
Because it would be like
Absolutely,
the dream,
man.
right? Like
Yeah.
if you go to a school and you're
Yes.
like, oh, we're okay at this sport or whatever your favorite sport is, but we could really just use like that extra little bit of a push.
Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
I'm a Dolphins fan. Steve Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, he's Mr. Michigan. He literally is the owner of Michigan football. He essentially, they need money. They hit up, hey, Mr. Ross, can we get, $1 million? Yeah, here you go. That's what I'm here for. Like, where's our guy like that? Where's our Steve Ross?
Yeah, who's funding the bill for, is it Bryce Underwood, their star quarterback?
Yeah.
It's like Dave Portnoy from Barstool, your guy with the Dolphins, right? I mean, they're giving him essentially what, $10 million a year to be the quarterback at Michigan. It's crazy. Yeah, so I think, and honestly, another owner who loves giving back to his college, and as much as I love to give this guy a ton of guff because he's easy to make fun of, but Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys, that man gives a ton back to the University of Arkansas. He loves his Razorbacks. And, whether it's, having a non-conference game or heck, even an SEC game at Jerry's World, he'll open up his doors for them. He donates a ton of money to the University of Arkansas. So Arizona, they have really good donors. Don't get me wrong. The donors at the U of A, they're doing whatever they can to make sure that the University of Arizona is always competing at a high level. One guy off the top is Humberto Lopez, owner of HSL Properties. Humberto Lopez was a key figure in talking to Tetairoa McMillan and Noah Fafita and all these other guys in order for them to stay. So they have really good donors, really good boosters. But man, it'd just be nice to see Arizona have that billionaire start to donate some money.
With a B. But
B.
I wanted to ask you this real quick, Justin, because you might be more privy to this information. I've heard some rumors that like Artie Moreno in particular stopped he did donate in the past, but he stopped donating. Have you heard any of that, or is there anything to that at all? I figured you'd be more privy to that kind of information.
No, I haven't heard anything like that. I do know that another guy that has U of A ties / Tucson ties is former Phoenix Suns owner Robert Sarver.
Yes.
I remember him sitting courtside a couple times with Larry Fitzgerald at McHale Center. But yeah, as far as Artie Moreno, I didn't hear anything about him being a previous donor.
Yeah, Robert Sarver. I believe I was at that game where he was as a student when Larry Fitzgerald was there. But yeah, he also is a former alum. So that's the thing. What school has 3 former alumni billionaires who owned sports franchises or are currently owning sports franchises who donate very little to nothing to the school? It's absolutely unbelievable. But I think, the donors and like we're talking about how, in particular, how much that would help football. And I think that's a perfect transition into getting into some football talk here, Justin. Obviously, the draft just happened. And my guy Kevin has been posing some pretty interesting questions to people on the Twitter streets. regarding, Arizona's recent draftees / free agent signings after the draft. Who do you think, Justin, will have the longest career out of all of the players drafted? And it's not as obvious as it may seem.
I look at the 6th round pick, Mr. Tyler Loop, the kicker, because of the situation that he's in. I mean, Tyler Loop has the opportunity to be not only an NFL kicker for 15 plus years, but he can also kick for one franchise, because the Baltimore Ravens care about winning. They are a championship culture. They value contending for not just AFC championships, but Super Bowls year after year after year. And after the Ravens cut Justin Tucker earlier this week, now Tyler Loop, he's in line to be the next starting kicker. And they drafted him in the 6th round, and he was one of 2 kickers drafted. Teams don't waste picks on kickers unless they have every intention on starting them. And Justin Tucker, it's such an interesting story, because, this guy is statistically the most accurate kicker of all time. That is proven true. If you look at the best field goal rates in NFL history, Justin Tucker at just over 89%, number 1. And he's been the mainstay kicker for the Baltimore Ravens for a long time now. But because of this sexual misconduct allegations, by the initial report by the Baltimore Banner had 6 women. Since that initial report came out, 10 additional women have stepped forward and have accused him of sexual misconduct during massages. So we're talking about 16 women stepping up and accusing you of sexual misconduct. And, he has been on his platforms and has denied all these allegations multiple times and called them false. But the NFL, the Baltimore Ravens, they needed to do their due diligence. They needed to do some investigating, and they did. And at the end of the investigation, and I mean, I think it's still also going on, but they decided to release Justin Tucker. And, as much as John Harbaugh and Eric DaCosta, the general manager of the Ravens, they want to come out and say this is a football decision, we're letting him go based on football. Yeah, okay, whatever. Sure, let's go ahead and get rid of one of the greatest kickers of all time for football reasons because you love Tyler Loop so much. No, I think they found out some stuff and they couldn't justify keeping him there. And good news for the Ravens, they have this badass kicker by the name of Tyler Loop, who is a top 30 all time in college football for field goal rate, one of the best kickers in U of A history. He's the first kicker drafted to the NFL since Nick Folk in 2007. And get this, guys, he is the first ever kicker drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens have never drafted a kicker until Tyler Loop this year. And they fell in love with him at the NFL scouting combine in Indianapolis. Their coach, their special teams coach, Randy Brown, who's been with the Ravens now for about 20 years. And they just hit it off at the NFL scouting combine in Indianapolis. And then after that, they actually came out to Arizona and attended a private workout for Tyler Loop at the stadium. And they were just incredibly impressed with Tyler Loop. And they kind of made their decision at Arizona Stadium at that time. And like I said, he's not only a great kicker, but he's also a great person too. And these issues that are going on, these allegations that are going on with Justin Tucker, I'm willing to bet you're never going to hear something like that with Tyler Loop. So Baltimore Ravens got a good one. Incredible leg strength. He made a 62-yarder this past season at Arizona. Danny Gonzalez, the former special teams coordinator, who's now the defensive coordinator, he's said, there were times where we'd be in that 70-ish range, and we were thinking about it. Like, we were thinking about sending out Tyler Loop to attempt him because he would make them consistently in practice. And there's a video going around of Tyler Loop attempting 75-yarders while he was at the U of A, like during pregame warmups, just knocking 75-yard field goals like it was nothing. And so he's got leg strength. He's got the accuracy. He's a good person. And now he is that next kicker in line to start for the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm super excited for him. And I think he's going to have a great NFL career. I think all these guys are going to have really solid NFL careers. But if you're asking me which one I think is going to have the longest, I'm going to put my money on Tyler Loop.
Yeah, and if Tyler Loop was even 5% less of the kicker that he is, I think I'd be less inclined to pick Tyler Loop and more inclined to maybe pick like a T-Mac or a Jonah or whatever. But I think that, like you laid out for us, Tyler Loop is in such the perfect spot for his skill set and perfect spot for this point in his development that we would be kind of insane to say that he would not last the longest in the NFL because he's being put in a position, and I guess there will be pressure there, obviously. But for the most part, he's being put in a position that can only push him further towards being the best kicker possible. And he has all the tools in the toolbox to do that. So, yeah, no, I think that's a good answer to that question.
I love the way Michael puts it here in the chat, too. He just says the beauty and the horrors of the kicking position is that it's going to be down to Tyler Loop, and I think that essentially what we're looking at is, in that question, like T-Mac will play for, 10 plus years, right? But Tyler Loop has the opportunity to play for 15 plus if he does what we all expect him to do, what we saw him do in college. And that's where, that it kind of just adds an extra wrinkle to that discussion where it's like kicking is just so much different than every other position. And there's an opportunity for Tyler Loop to be like one of the, 10 all-time leading scorers in NFL history if he has the career that we think that he could potentially have. So it's absolutely wild when you think about it that way.
No, you're right. And also I wanted to add real quick because go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the interesting thing about Michael's comment is, and it reminded me of Nick Folk. It's like it's all going to come down to him. And Nick Folk has been kicking in the NFL for like 17 years, 18 years or something like that. But there were a couple of years where he was out of the NFL. He got to a point after his career with the Cowboys and the Jets, and then all of a sudden he's kicking for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I'll never forget watching that Monday Night Football game where he missed a few field goals, and one of them was like a really clutch field goal down the stretch. And they put the camera over to Nick Folk, and he just looked so defeated, and he just looks so down. And then all of a sudden he's waived by the Buccaneers. And the next time we hear of Nick Folk, he's kicking for the Arizona Hotshots of the AAF. And he's kicking at that level, did good there. But he was removed from the NFL. He was so bad that he struggled there at the halfway mark of his NFL career. And then he signs with the New England Patriots, and he sets the Patriots record for the most consecutive field goals between 1 and 40 yards. Between, anytime he was inside 40-yard range, he was automatic and was consistent for the Patriots. And Bill Belichick raved about Nick Folk and his consistency. And so he loved him. And then Nick Folk then goes to the Tennessee Titans. Last year, he was an AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. And so, yeah, Michael has a really good point. It's all going to really come down to him. And I think the situation he's got with the Baltimore Ravens is a really good one. And I think Tyler Loop, if he can have a good operation, and the operation is the snapper and the holder, that was a problem when he was in his last season at Arizona. Michael Salgado-Medina was the holder. He was also the freshman punter. But, Michael Salgado-Medina, his entire life, he was the kicker. He was never the holder. And so he was a first-time holder, and he struggled a few times. And that's what led to a couple of the misses by Tyler Loop. Sometimes the snap was off too. In the previous 2 years, Tyler Loop had the same holder and the same snapper. So the operation was just money. And then some new characters come into play, and there were some growing pains. So I don't pin all of the losses or all of the misses by Tyler Loop. I don't blame it all on Tyler Loop. Some of it had to do with the operation. And I think if this operation is good in Baltimore, we could be looking at Tyler Loop being an all-pro kicker and definitely a guy that could be winning some Super Bowls here very soon.
I think you needed Justin Spears snapping back there for him to kind of fix that operation.
Hey, you got tape now. You got some tape now.
It's true. Highlight tape.
Damn straight. But unfortunately, they turned down my Raising Cane's NIL chicken offer, and they said, "Yeah, man, we're bringing in this high schooler. His name is Broden Mullen, which is a great name for a long snapper, and he's from Montana. Played in the Navy All-American game, and then they have Avery Salerno, who played at Jackson State and was a part of the post Deion Sanders era down there in Mississippi. But so they got two long snappers. So my career's over with."
Yeah. Nick Folk, by the way, looked it up real quick. He is 20th all time in points scored in NFL history. So he is in that top 20 range and has played on 5 teams over the course of a 17-year NFL career, now reaching the age of 40 years old. So it could be getting down to the end, but all-time career from Nick Folk, one of the kicking legends of the game. And hopefully Tyler Loop follows in those footsteps. U of A kind of has such a weird history with kickers, I feel like, where they either have these guys like Max Dejas and Tyler Loop and Nick Folk that are just like unbelievable kickers. And then, you throw in, some kicking woes in there in between. And it's just like, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of consistency. It's a lot of ups and downs with Arizona football's kicking history, with the highs being extremely high and the lows, as I'm sure we all remember, being very, very, very low. But yeah, hopefully Tyler Loop, does what we all think he can do in the NFL.
Well, shoot, you mentioned Max Zendejas. He was fantastic. And then there were some other Zendejas family members that started kicking for Arizona that left a bitter taste in Arizona fans' mouths.
Hey, you said it, Justin. I was gonna let our guy Alex, maybe have his day here and not get a mention, but it ruined my childhood. I'll tell you that much. But yeah, that's for another discussion. We got T-Mac stuff right around the corner. We're going to talk a little bit about what are your favorite matchups for T-Mac moving into his rookie season, his first season in the NFL. What are some of the best cornerback versus wide receiver pairings that we're going to see there? And we'll get into that right after the break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. First, let's talk about our friends at Empire Today. Empire Today, we talk about it all the time. Home court advantage, home floor advantage is so damn important, not only in just sports,
my house,
but in real life too, right? Like, you want to feel comfortable. You want to feel like that this is your space, right? And no better way to do so than getting the highest quality flooring for the lowest price possible. Empire Today is going to do that for you. They're going to get you, with our promo code of PHNX, $350 off. Kevin, that's right, $350.
It's not just right, it's real right.
That's a decent chunk of change. And another thing about Empire is they are really going to make this process seamless for you. They're going to get in there. They're going to show you, the virtual floor designer, what that flooring is going to look like in your home before they install it, so that you don't get it installed and all of a sudden go, I hate it. I actually hate it. You're going to avoid that completely with our friends at Empire Today. They're going to bring that virtual floor designer. Then they're going to come install it for you. They're going to bring all of the stuff that they need to the house. And it's going to be the most seamless process, as I said, out there in all of flooring. So hit up Empire Today. The jingle. They're a national company. They're all over. It doesn't matter. You don't just have to be in Phoenix. You could be all over in the United States. And Empire Today is going to be helping you out. So schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home. PHNX listeners can receive a $350 discount. That's right, guys. $350 when you use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/PHNX for full details.
That is a pretty insane deal from our friends over at Empire Today, but I have more insane deals from the most insane headwear you can ever put on top of your head, because it is so comfortable that you must be crazy. Branded Bills is the best way to elevate your brand, whether you need snapbacks, fitteds, beanies, tees. Branded Bills has you covered with all of those, with great performance and style. Looking for some gear custom made for your brand? Branded Bills has you covered. Also, they partner, with Arizona, the Phoenix Suns. They got other campus stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Not going to talk about those other schools because they're scum and they're nasty. But Branded Bills are clean and very kind. We love Branded Bills. Use code BBPHNX for 20% off your first order. Head to brandedbills.com and use that code of BBPHNX.
And as he said, it is BBPHNX. I know our little thing there was different, but BBPHNX for that Branded Bills hat. Kevin, unbelievable hat. I'll never forget. Justin, I don't know if you've heard about this. I texted my guy Kevin last time we were in Tucson for the spring showcase. He sends me pictures of all these beautiful branded Bills hats that are exclusive to the U of A campus bookstore. You can't get them anywhere else. You can't even get them on the internet. You can't get them online. And I say, hey, Kevin, would you mind copping me this one specifically right there? I want that one. And Kevin just keeps it chugging. He texts me back immediately, and and I'm like, hey, you got that hat for me, brother? And he goes, I have no idea what you're talking about.
We're calling a full timeout. We're calling a full timeout here. We gotta go back to the clipboard. I got Jokic calling plays over there. We're gonna figure this out because here's what really happened, Spears. Let's litigate this. The day before, Damon and I had an agreement that this was the day of our live show in Tucson, and so we're like, okay, before the live show, we're gonna get there at X time. Let's meet up at the campus store like an hour before. We can each get hats or look at hats or shop around, whatever, meet up, have a central location, and then go to the stadium together. That was the plan. I show up. There's no Damon, dog. I'm thinking, oh, because we hadn't really talked that much in the day. We talked a little bit about content stuff. And I was just like, okay, he's probably already been here and gone. Like, he's probably already been here, made a stop, and left. So I just, like, sent him photos because I was there. And I'm thinking, like, all right, look at this. I found it. I took photos to put it on the show. It wasn't necessarily like, hey, I'm going to get which one do you want? It was just like, hey, these are the sick branded Bills hats. They have some new ones too. And I go to checkout, and that's when I get the text of like, oh, can you pick me up, blah, 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 blah. And then a new text that says those hats are sick. So I'm in line. I just see that those hats are sick because it does like the 2 messages thing, but I didn't peep that. Yeah. And so I check out, I leave, and he goes, like, we get here at the office the next day, and he's like, oh, did you have my hat, by the way? And I was like, what hat are you talking about? And now we're here, and now I'm the bad guy.
Yeah, just sounds a simple mistake. It was an honest mistake. Because, if it was the 2 text message thing and all you saw was, oh, those hats are sick, I'm guilty of it. I look at a text, and I'm like, oh, cool, they're complimenting me. That's all right. And then you don't see the first one. I feel that.
No,
you gotta call him,
every time I text Justin now, I'm gonna have to like sandwich it in reverse. I'm gonna have to say, Justin, you're a great guy. Here's what I need from you, as opposed to here's what I need. Thanks for helping me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Honest mistake. But yeah, the Brandon Bills hats, man. Was Seth Dagey rocking a cool one? Is that a Brandon Bills hat? On the
initial interview that, like, I remember the hat you're talking about. I think he did an interview with either us or someone else around, and he had like this crazy hat on. It was a beautiful hat. I think Damon complimented it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a Brandon Bills. But I have seen him in a Brandon Bills, and it does make the handsome Seth Dagey look even handsomer. So even more handsome. Handsomer is not a word.
More handsome, I think.
I'm a
journalism major.
I went to a football game last year. I had Jason Gardner sitting 2 rows ahead of me. He was wearing a Brandon Bills hat. Like, Brandon Bills has taken over the hat scene at the University of Arizona. Like, everybody's
in the
on
state.
it.
I was at a PHNX. I was at a Phoenix Rising game. Check out the PHNX Rising podcast if you're into that kind of stuff. But I was at a Rising game, and I saw Brandon Bills hats literally everywhere. I was like, I feel like I'm on the right side of history with being on a Brandon Bills affiliated podcast. Because when everybody else is rocking Brandon Bills, I'll have a whole collection built up, and it'll be retro at that point. It'll be vintage. We can move on from the hat talk. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be on the right side of history with Brandon Bills.
Well, real quick, Utah Mammoth Brandon Bills hats, are they going to be at the PHNX studios, or do you guys feel a certain type of way about that?
I think everyone in this office feels gross. I was actually thinking to myself today, because I saw our friend Sean DePaz tweet this out about the numbering on the back of the jerseys they released. And how, like, the numbering is cool. I actually think the logo is pretty mid. It's kind of just like a Utah version of the Predators logo, which I think is awesome. But I think that makes this logo a little bit less awesome. It's just good. It's just
I like
fine.
the mountains on it. I do. I actually wasn't aware of this being a confirmed thing that they picked the mammoths. So it's breaking news to me. I like the mountains on the top of the head of the mammoth, but yeah. Ultimately, I mean, I feel like I've said this from the beginning. It looks like in Madden when you relocate a franchise.
Oh yeah.
And they give you the options for which jerseys you want to wear. They don't let you create your own jerseys, and it's like the LA Stars, like back before there was like LA teams that you could relocate there. And that's what it looks like to me. It's like some like creative franchise logo that like was already preset.
The Tiburon Sharks or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
Oh, in NCAA? That was electric.
There's for those that like play Madden, I think it was, or maybe it was a 2K thing. I don't know. But when you were trying to relocate a franchise, because obviously I don't have a basketball franchise in St. Louis, and they took our football franchise. So anytime I play these games, I'm moving teams back. So I can't. If I wanted to take the hours to put all the branding in and download it and do that custom, I could. But it's way easier to rock with the preset stuff for something already out there. It's like a Pittsburgh steel or like a Pittsburgh metal. You know what I mean? It's just like, what are we doing? It's so on the nose. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm not really all
what
about it.
What are you rocking with when you make St. Louis franchises? Like,
you want to know?
What's the mascot name?
Well, I was downplaying it about the hours because that was from experience. I do put the hours in to make the custom branding and do all that stuff.
There we go.
We go with the St. Louis Archers every time.
Every single time.
Pretty much, especially for basketball.
A play on the arch?
Much more sense. Yes, it makes so much more sense for basketball. I also think it was a former like brand of some sort in the city. I forget off the top of my head. But yeah, St. Louis Archers, it kind of goes hard.
I rock with that, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty fire there. Of course, we're as I teased before the break, we're going to talk a little bit about Tetairoa McMillan and kind of just his rookie matchups here in his first season. And there was a great tweet from Michael Bell, which is at AVL_Mike. He says, T-Mac has some really fun matchups ahead, and then goes on to list a lot of the matchups here that he is going to be playing against. I'll name a few of those for you guys right now. You got Sauce Gardner on the horizon. Obviously, was first team All-Pro as a rookie. Took a little bit of a step back last year, but I think, people expect him to be, back in that upper echelon of cornerbacks next season. And also interesting matchup just in the way that I feel like from a size standpoint, Sauce matches T-Mac's length a little bit better than a lot of these other cornerbacks in the NFL do. But moving forward, you got Jalen Ramsey.
Well, hold on, real quick.
If he stays a Dolphin.
Before we move on from Sauce Gardner, I think we'd be remiss to mention the it's like a Diet Taylor Swift effect. You know what I mean? What is the effect of Ice Spice going to be on Sauce Gardner's football career? How is that going to affect his ability to cover guys? Will it affect his quickness? Will it affect his focus on the field? Knowing that he has Ice Spice at home. That's all I'm asking. Damon, do you think that she'll be at more games? Will we get an Ice Spice cam? We're in New York. We're in a big media market. She's from New York.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that this might be, and she's friends with Taylor Swift. I think that this might be a thing.
All the hard-hitting analysis here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. How will Ice Spice's relationship with Sauce Gardner affect Tetairoa McMillan's game against the New York Jets later this season? I guess we're just going to have to find out and watch them play on the field, but it could go either way, right? Like there could be an adverse effect, or there could be a positive.
Yeah, because with Travis Hunter, like Travis Kelce, he's kind of like out of his prime. You know what I mean? Like, so we don't really know the actual effect, the Taylor Swift effect, because he's already kind of washed. He's just one of the all-time greats at his position, so it doesn't look as washed, but he's pretty washed. T-Mac and Sauce, they're in their primes. You know what I mean? So if Sauce Gardner is affected, we will know. You know what I mean? Positively or negatively. If he comes out there and clamps up T-Mac, you know what I mean? Maybe it's the Ice Spice effect, and we need to talk about that.
But how will this affect LeBron's legacy?
It's a good point.
That's what everyone wants to know. No, but I think like you guys said, the length that Sauce Gardner has, I think matching up against T-Mac will definitely make it a lot of fun. I'm excited, potentially him against Jalen Ramsey, especially because Jalen Ramsey he's been playing in the NFL for a long time. T-Mac is no longer going up against these DBs that are in the same age range as him. Like, he's going to be going up against some real grown men and real veterans in the NFL. So how is the rookie going to hold up against those guys? I'm looking at, some other cool matchups too. I know they're playing against the Dallas Cowboys this year. So him going up against Trayvon Diggs will be a nice little matchup as well. If we're talking about in the NFC South, I know that the New Orleans Saints, they also have Kool-Aid McKinstry, the former Alabama standout. So there's a lot of cornerbacks that T-Mac is going to be going up against that we're going to see some really good matchups.
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of these are fun. Jalen Ramsey, Marvin Harrison Jr., one of his best games of the season last year was actually against the Miami Dolphins. I was in attendance there with, some of our closest friends and family from PHNX Cardinals who were at the game. But Jalen Ramsey, great season last year, but really struggled against Marv in that matchup. And not to say that T-Mac is the prospect that Marv was, but he fits that similar mold of like a big, strong receiver that maybe is underrated in the route running and yards after catch aspects of their game, but their main attribute is like, I feel like if I'm throwing like a fade to that guy in the end zone, he's going to come down with it in one-on-one coverage every single time, right? Like that's the type of receiver we're talking about here. And Jalen Ramsey struggled against Marvin last year in that matchup. So I don't know, maybe we could see something similar there, but that all revolves around Jalen Ramsey staying in Miami, which is also quite up in the air at the moment, or even maybe sitting out the season if he refuses to play. So that's one to keep on the docket. Christian Gonzalez is the pretty much, I think last year consensus #1 corner in the NFL.
Love that match.
That'll be an interesting one. I forgive me, I don't know. Remember, did they play against each other in college at all?
While he was at Oregon?
I don't think T-Mac
so.
Did he play Oregon?
They did?
Yeah. Was it the 2022 season, 23 season? They upset Oregon, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I could have sworn
checking on it right now.
Well, no, they in 2022. I remember Justin Flo was like just becoming healthy for Oregon, and it was like his first game back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I know in 2022 they went 5-7, so maybe that could have been one of their marquee wins of the season. Was during that year. But yeah, Christian Gonzalez is a really good pick. Heck, if you really want to, get the matchup that we've seen over the last couple of years, they're playing against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Travis Hunter, when he's defending T-Mac, he will be wearing number 21. Travis Hunter's doing way too much right now, man. Like,
yeah. Give us your thoughts on the jersey swapping thing, because I saw that, and I was like, is this what we're doing here?
That's going to be short lived. Because it's all fun and games, but okay, after a handful of weeks, after a month, you're going to be tired of it because you're on the field all the time and you're constantly having to take off your shoulder pads. Unless, like, are you just going to have 2 different shoulder pads and then you just like quickly take off one and then put the other one on real quick and strap it up? Like, I don't know how that's going to work, but going from 12 on offense to 21 on defense is just, that's just doing a little too much, man. But if you look at, I don't know, I have no idea. But if you look at the matchups of T-Mac against Travis Hunter, I don't really look at the one this past season because Travis Hunter was banged up and only played really the first half. Look at that 2023 tape between Travis Hunter and T-Mac, and even in the reps that T-Mac quote unquote did not win, like if the ball was like overthrown or whatever, T-Mac won those routes. T-Mac won those battles. So I think we're going to see T-Mac and Travis Hunter again at the NFL level, and people are really going to see just how good T-Mac is, because Travis Hunter is a great player. Heisman Trophy winner, deserves it. I voted for the guy, and he's going to be, I think, a generational talent at that next level. He already is one. But if you look at those matchups in that game in Boulder, T-Mac had Travis Hunter's number, and I think we're going to see it again this year.
I don't want to derail our conversation here, and if you are watching our conversation on any of our streaming platforms, please hop over to gophnx.com. The party continues over there. But me and Damon were discussing this on a recent episode about how awards voters, people who have the power to decide the offensive rookie of the year and player of the year and things like that, you as a Heisman voter hold a similar responsibility on your shoulders, right? So I wanted to ask you, the question that Damon and I were posing was, will Travis Hunter have to will he be able to inherently do a little bit less statistically to win an offensive rookie of the year or a defensive rookie of the year because he's doing both roles? And can you just ignore the fact that he's doing both roles? Because if he was playing the full snaps of an offensive player or a defensive player, vice versa, whatever, he might have better stats. So how could that possibly affect like the awards as you are a Heisman voter?
Yeah. I mean, if you see a guy who's just having a great season, right? Like if you're voting for offensive rookie of the year, you can't deny what Jaden Daniels did this last year, right? I mean, he took his team to not only the NFL playoffs, but like they won a game in the postseason. So you can't deny what Jaden Daniels did. Now, if the rest of the field is just awful and there aren't many rookies that are standing out, then yeah, you could look at a Travis Hunter and go ahead and give him offensive rookie of the year. But I think playing both sides of the ball is definitely going to hurt him when it comes to those awards. But, maybe somewhere down the road, if he is a Pro Bowler on both sides of the ball, I mean, we could be talking about this guy maybe even being an MVP. So I think in his rookie season, we'll see him get snubbed for awards. But I think throughout the rest of his career, the numbers that he puts up on both sides of the ball, I think he'll definitely get some awards. And honestly, I think no matter what, he's going to be a Pro Bowler, maybe even an all-pro guy. And I think if he can lead Jacksonville to the playoffs and also excel on both sides of the ball, I don't think Travis Hunter, I don't think he cares about the accolades, because when it comes time to that second contract, Travis Hunter's going to be making a lot of money.
Yeah, and regarding Travis Hunter versus T-Mac in the past, I just want to say generative AI on Google it told me in 2023 he had 3 catches for 15 yards on Travis Hunter, and Travis Hunter stifled T-Mac statistically, which is just factually incorrect. If I look at there's I believe he had like 70-ish yards that he got against. He had over 100 in the game, but I think there was 70-ish that were against Travis Hunter, plus a touchdown, that famous one-handed touchdown catch that he had over him. Definitely won that matchup. Definitely didn't get the better end of this second kind of go around at it. But again, as you mentioned, Justin, it's hard to put like a ton of stock into that game, just how bad that game was in terms of a blowout. Travis Hunter banged up in that one as well. And it's just like that. It didn't, I don't know, that was really the one that took the life, I felt like, out of last season in particular. Like, it just felt like there was no coming back from that Colorado loss. But looking up the previous conversation about Christian Gonzalez, they did play in 2023. Arizona lost 49-22 at home to Oregon, and Christian Gonzalez was on that team. But I'm not privy to how much they really matched up against one another and whatnot. But another guy that he has past experience at least playing against, right? So you bring the Travis Hunter, the Christian Gonzalez is back in the fold. Travis Hunter projecting, but upper echelon corners in the NFL that T-Mac has experience going against, and it just provides a little bit of extra, intrigue to the matchups there.
Absolutely. Man, I'm excited about training camp for him.
Yeah.
Like the matchups that I want to see is our guy, Tucson's very own Lathan Ransom.
Yeah.
Out back there at safety, figuring out a way to defend T-Mac. I think that is one of the biggest steals in the draft. Lathan going to Carolina. And I think those matchups that in camp, I think those are going to be must see. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting battles between T-Mac and the divisional opponents and some of these other guys like Christian Gonzalez with the New England Patriots. I think, T-Mac, the thing about him that's going to make him really thrive early on is there's so much. I mean, there's attention on him, but it's not going to be as much attention as we saw this last year. And when he had another option like a Jacob Cowing or a Tanner McLaughlin, that really opened up opportunities for him, and he was able to get in more one-on-one matchups and not bracketed and double teams so much. And when you have Xavier Legette, when you have Adam Theilen, and there's a couple other guys that they have that are pretty solid too, I think it's really going to allow T-Mac to get into those one-on-one opportunities, and then he's really going to show why he was the first receiver drafted this year. And not only is he the first receiver drafted this year, but I didn't know this, guys. He's the first or the highest selected wide receiver in Carolina Panthers history. So take that, Steve Smith.
So the first Baltimore Ravens drafted kicker of all time, and the highest drafted Carolina Panther receiver of all time. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Take a note.
Also, shout out to Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the mayor in Montgomery, Alabama, and the city council, they voted to make May 8th Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt Day in Montgomery.
That's
so
wild.
I think it's
Montgomery's kind of a big city.
Yeah, it's a huge city, and
Historic too.
And they support Ja'Cory. I think it's so cool that I think tomorrow's May 8th, that they're going to make that day Ja'Cory Krosky-Mayer Day, aka Bill Day, in Montgomery, Alabama. I mean, he represents Montgomery. He loves his city. He was there when he got the phone call by the Washington Commanders in the 7th round for the draft. And, he's been through a lot. I know Arizona fans would have loved to see him play for more than just a game against New Mexico, but I'm happy to see him get his opportunity in the NFL, and I think he's going to do great with the Washington Commanders.
And you bring up the Bill Day in Montgomery. The post was really dope. Like him in a very nice suit, clearly like very pridefully looking over this like very official looking like document that says like Ja'Cory Krosky-Mayer and hereby and words like albeit, like fancy words and all this script. I can't even imagine like if Damon got like a Damon Fairall Day in Tucson.
Oh yeah,
like you know what I mean.
There
like,
will be a Justin Spears Day in Tucson one of these days.
The amount of pride
I'm waiting on it
that you must feel as being that person, it'd be crazy. So I actually can't wait to be on this same podcast in however many years, maybe days, and congratulate you, Justin Spears, on Spears Day, like Damon was saying.
I hope so, man. Spears Day, everybody gets off of school, half day at work, and it's mandatory to eat a Sonoran hot dog.
Hell yeah.
Fire. And,
sounds like the greatest
discount on
day.
Canes. We get a discount on Canes?
Oh, yes, of course, man.
That's a man after my heart. But I got to say, underrated aspect of Lathan Ransom being on the Panthers as well, getting to face Bijan Robinson twice a year in the same division. Excited for that jersey swap that's about to happen in that first matchup of the season. It's coming. That they're beelining for each other straight across that field when the game ends. So
has the DM already been sent, you think? Like, has one of them already reached out like, yo, the schedule's out. I know you're on the, can't wait to, what I mean?
Totally. Not even
Absolutely.
a DM. They probably
Phone
called
call,
each other
text.
right afterwards. See, I'll see you twice a year, buddy.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And those two, they worked so hard when they were at South Point. Like, they would compete against each other. They were the biggest competitors at practice. They did pregame warm-ups together. Like, they were a pretty competitive tandem. And absolutely, as soon as that first game ends, they're going to meet at center field or meet at midfield and exchange the jerseys. I don't know what number Lathan Ransom is wearing, but yeah, expect Lathan Ransom to get an autographed number 7 Bijan Robinson jersey.
Yeah, for sure. That'll be absolutely electric. And let's see here. This is great podcasting, but what is Lathan Ransom's number? Not on the website yet. I know the Cardinals have given out their numbers, so I was thinking that would be information.
He might be in like negotiations. You know what I mean? Might be
well,
like,
good
hey,
for Lathan not doing the whole Abdul Carter thing and is like,
oh my God,
knocking on the door of every retired Giant is like, hey, can I borrow your jersey number? And it's like, no,
that
man,
was
you
wild.
gotta get your own number. I like Lawrence Taylor. Like, you cannot listen. You're a good player, Abdul Carter. Don't get me wrong, but like, ask any of our unks, ask any of our grandfathers, people who watch Lawrence Taylor. My late father, who passed away 6 years ago, I remember him telling me Lawrence Taylor was the biggest badass on the football field, the best defensive player of all time. And so another thing too is like Lawrence Taylor was a part of like the crack epidemic, and he would tell you like he would do crack before games. And dude, we're talking about a cracked out 6'4", 250-pound guy coming off the edge. Yeah, good luck, buddy. That's why he was such a menace in the NFL.
Spears, this is why we have you on. Like, this kind of insight and expertise is you can only get from Justin Spears. And real quick before we move on and try to wrap things up, I wanted to ask you about the Extraordinary Cats with Disabilities Camp that just recently went down. You were there. It was a very cool thing that Arizona football is doing. I believe Danny Gonzalez started this camp for children with disabilities at New Mexico, I believe, when he was over there, and has brought it over. Can you talk to us a little bit about what's been going on in the football facilities in relation to community engagement?
Yeah, man, such a beautiful evening last night at the not the Lowell Stevens football facility. It was the Cole and Jeannie Davis Indoor Center where Arizona normally practices. And Danny Gonzalez, the current Arizona defensive coordinator, he has an 11-year-old daughter, Abby, who has Down syndrome. And they saw the McCaffreys. It was Ed and Christian McCaffrey. They had a camp for kids with disabilities. And Sandra Gonzalez, Danny Gonzalez's wife, said we should do something like that. And at that time, Danny was a coach at San Diego State. And he said, I'll tell you what, if I ever become a head coach, we're going to do a camp like that. And he becomes the head coach at New Mexico. And his first year, it was the COVID year, so they couldn't do it. And then eventually they did it, and they called it Extraordinary Lobos. And he said, a lot of people have disabilities. Like I'm good at something and maybe others aren't good at it. So we look at it more as abilities. And in this case, the campers who are coming out on with this football team and is coming out for this camp, they're extraordinary. And so when he was at New Mexico, he called it Extraordinary Lobos. And now they bring it over to Arizona and it's called Extraordinary Cats. And, there were, people with disabilities between the ages of like 5, 6 years old to, people in their 20s. It was an all ages camp. And, these campers, they've dealt with a lot in their life, and they've dealt with a lot of challenges, a lot of difficulties, and they never really got a chance to play football or experience what it's like to be at a football camp. And so not only did they get that experience, but they had guys like Noah Fafita and all these other star U of A football players out there helping them out and doing the work with them. And, not many events like move me to tears, but man, there was a moment there where like I kind of fought back some tears because it just made me appreciate life so much. And it really gave me just a unique perspective on everything. So to see these campers come out, have a great time, have some smiles, and have those moments with the U of A football players, not only are they going to remember that for the rest of their lives, but these U of A football players are going to remember that for the rest of their lives too. And I tell you what, they made a lot of fans that day. Those campers that left that camp, they were all about Arizona football, and they're going to be coming to games this fall. So good on Arizona football. Good on Danny Gonzalez for creating this camp for people with disabilities. And it's the first one, and it's going to be the first of many.
Let me just say, I know a lot of Arizona football fans were a little bit, disappointed and discouraged by, what happened last season. But I will say that there's the people that are in this program are so easy to root for as individuals and as just people off the field. It just feels like, such a great combination of just dudes and women in the program that are, representing this football program. And yeah, I mean, it's that what a really cool experience. I was watching a lot of those videos, and yeah, that's awesome. And shout out Danny Gonzalez for, kind of bringing that over to Tucson and galvanizing the troops to get that done.
Absolutely. And like I said, it was kids of all ages. I got to know the star of the show. His name is Malachi. And Malachi had these bright blue shorts on and, kind of a bigger burly guy. And, they were talking about like, hey guys, we're going to show off your strengths and what you can do. And I think he heard the word strength and immediately like started flexing on everybody. Like he like took, uncovered his arm and started flexing on all the football players. And they were loving that. And to see like them take part in the throwing competition and see the ball go in the net and all the guys like, hey, and start celebrating, to see these kids just light up. It was the best part of my week. And honestly, one of the best assignments I will ever do. And I hope that next year I get to attend another Extraordinary Cats camp.
Absolutely electric stuff from our guy, Justin Spears. You can follow Justin at Justin Esports on Twitter. Check out Justin's work on Spears and Ali every morning, 7 to 9 a.m. Also check him out on Tucson.com, Arizona Daily Star. You see the sign in the background there. Kevin, what's that face about, brother?
We're wrapping up the show, and the show's been such a great, familial experience with our guy Justin Spears.
News?
And he just warmed my heart with that story of the Extraordinary Cats camp. And I'm fighting back the desire to be a nasty, disgusting guy, because I haven't talked to Justin Spears since the Lakers got up out of the playoffs. And I just wanted to ask him, The Lakers suck. Can we discuss it just a little bit before we get out
I don't know what you're talking about.
It's Chargers
know what you're
season,
talking about.
Justin. It's Chargers season.
Damn straight. Damn
Oh,
straight.
no. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You had to bring up the Lakers, man.
Hey, I've been getting oh, so how about those Blues all week? And it hurts my heart. So I feel like I had to just give it out a little bit to somebody I could. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, you know what? I look at it like this. It comes to the territory, you know, like I could sit there and like, oh, the Lakers. I've seen my team win 6 championships in my lifetime. So I understand that some people don't got it like me, like your folks over there at PHNX Suns, still hungry for that championship. But
Hey, man, Brian
I'll
Gregory's
take it.
going to save the day.
oh yeah,
Justin, I'm in a little bit of a similar spot here as a Miami Heat fan. You know, it's been a great run. It's been a good 25, 30 years of competitive basketball, and I've seen 3 championships. I've seen a lot of W's, and now I saw the worst blowout sweep in the history of the NBA first round, and it feels like it's all crashing and burning to the ground. But at the end of the day, you know, you probably can't be good forever, but is what it is.
yeah. Just get in the gym, Luka. That's all I'm asking you, man. I know I'm like the last guy to preach about getting into the gym, but yeah, don't be going down to those those restaurants in East LA, and definitely
No hookah lounges?
some more acai bowls in your future, brother.
It's hard to turn down those street tacos, Justin. It really is.
No doubt. I mean, especially in LA, man. LA's like, if you're a foodie, LA is your city. It's a potpourri of just great eats. But we're trying to win a championship, Luka. So get away from the taco stands. Get in the gym.
He's our guy, Justin Spears. We'll talk to Justin, I believe, next week on an episode of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until next time, Justin.
See you guys.
Well, Kevin, right before we get out of here, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention some Diamond sports news.
Indeed.
We'll start off with the bad, and then we'll go to the good, huh?
Yep, I like that.
Baseball last night loses to GCU. I know we talked about it going into, trying to start a streak against GCU after they had a bit of a streak against Arizona, but it was not to be, Kevin, as Arizona falls to GCU in the game. And GCU, not like a great team this year. So that's why I think it's kind of more unfortunate. Like GCU has had some really good teams in the past. They're 28-20 this year, which is like in college baseball, that's not all that great of a record, but they run ruled Arizona, they got run ruled by Arizona in the last matchup. Then they beat Arizona 5-2 in this one, right after Arizona, kind of grinds its way back into the rankings in the top 25 here, Kevin. So GCU gets the series victory on the season, 2-1 over the Wildcats. And unfortunate, not a loss that you want to take at this point in the season, with, some really big matchups on the horizon, seeding on the horizon in the NCAA tournament, and hopefully hosting a regional, right? But I believe that probably is out the door with this loss.
Yep. Quick note, some history was made in that game, albeit for the wrong side. GCU's Zach York had 2 home runs and became the school's all-time leader in home runs at the Division I level, which is pretty cool. Shout out to him. Wish it would have happened against a different team. Also, Brendan Summerhill returns to the lineup, which is huge because he's been unable to stay healthy for the better part of like 2.5 months now, it feels like. So having him back didn't boost them to a victory last night, but it is someone that you absolutely need as you wrap up conference play here shortly. And they do have Utah coming into town, who is 18-25 and only 5-19 in conference. So you look at Utah as a game that you got to sweep and got to get back on track. You got to get Brendan Summerhill some reps to really get accustomed to playing every day and having regular at-bats again. So excited to see where baseball can go after this loss. But this was, like we talked about yesterday, a game that you would love to have, even if it was just for momentum's sake, whether if you agree with that or not. But yeah.
Erica, you'll never make Erica stop hating. That's a fact, Kevin. That's people like me and Erica, we're just wired different. The hate flows through us. It drives us to wake up in the morning every day. But moving on to the good side of things, Kevin, Arizona softball, our own Shohei Ohtani Devin Netz takes home the Big 12 Player of the Year award in our first year in the conference. And yeah, very well deserved. Best pitcher on the roster, best hitter on the roster, or arguably so. Yeah, I mean, she clearly deserved it, and major difference being there that Ohtani belongs in prison, and Devin Netz is a good person.
1,000%. I stand with you on that. I do love Ohtani's dog Decoy, though, so I don't know if I would want to leave Decoy fatherless.
He could take Decoy to jail with him.
Is he like in a Swiss jail? Is he have an Xbox too? Anyway, we're not going to get into.
Are we trying to keep him together or not, Kevin? Because
I don't know.
You can't have everything. You can't have your cake and eat it too, brother.
I don't know anymore. But Devin Netz, Big 12 Player of the Year. Netz becomes the 7th Wildcat to win Conference Player of the Year honors, the first of hopefully many in the Big 12, joining a list of Susie Parra, Laura Espinoza, Jenny Dalton, Allison McCutcheon, who is the only two-time Conference Player of the Year winner on this list. Two-time. Caitlin Lowe, Katiana Mauga, and then Devin Netz joining that list. Katiana in 2017, previously the most recent. And then, yeah, this is also it's not just Devin Netz. We've talked about it. We've talked about it multiple times this season. Devin Netz is like someone that we love to talk about because of everything that she can do on both sides of the ball there. But 7 all-conference selections from the Arizona Wildcats team this year, most for the program since 2021. Stoddard, Kennedy, Netz, and Stewart, all unanimous selections as well. And this is Dakota Kennedy's third straight selection to an all-conference team. So Arizona softball continues to get it done from a talent perspective, from an accolades perspective, and it just continues to be one of the most relevant softball programs in the history of the sport. So love to see that. Congratulations to Devin Netz.
How is Jenny Finch didn't win a Conference Player of the Year award? She won Pitcher of the Year, but that was where my mind went immediately. I was like, we're talking about potentially the greatest softball player in the history of the sport, and she didn't have a Pac-10 Player of the Year award?
Yeah, that is pretty wild. I don't know what to say about that, to be quite honest with you. And then
she won the Honda Sports Award, which recognized her as the top player in the entire country.
Would have been better if it was a Sanderson Ford Award, but
true.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, so be it. But no, shout out to Devin Netz, shout out to softball. They start the Big 12 tournament tomorrow at 3 p.m. our time, Oklahoma.
She won it twice, actually.
Oh, damn. So I wonder why that was not included in the official list that I was.
No, I'm saying she won the Honda Player of the Year award of the entire country twice.
I was like, come on, Arizona softball, you giving me bad information. What's going on here? But
no,
anyway,
that's not on them or you.
Anyway, Big 12 tournament softball gets underway tomorrow in Oklahoma City. They will face either UCF or 10-seeded Utah, and I think they'll find out sometime this afternoon after that game wraps. But yeah, excited for softball. Hopefully they kill it in the Big 12 tournament and bring another one home.
We will be locked in. You know that. And of course, you're going to want to follow our account at PHNX_Wildcats. We'll be tweeting out all of the live game information regarding the softball program, gearing up for some big time moments here. Same with baseball. We'll be locked and loaded with all of it.
Damon, I got some funny news to bring to you at the end of this show.
Okay.
Real quick before we get out of here, I know you'll get a kick out of this. Utah quarterback Cam Rising medically retiring from football. No more Cam Rising ball. We're not going to get 10 years of Cam Rising in college like we thought we might. After the hand injury last year that he sustained against Baylor, he is going to medically retire from the sport of football. How, you're not moved? You're not about to burst on? You're not on the brink of tears?
One more time for me.
Cam Rising medically retiring from football?
Yeah. I mean,
you're not heartbroken?
I really thought his NFL career was budding, you know?
Yeah. Erica Day in the chat says, buddy, it's time for you to learn LinkedIn. Obviously with our code, but yeah, time for you to learn LinkedIn. And that's all I had. Also the ACC, because I know how much you love ACC basketball, is dropping their conference schedule from 20 to 18 games. Kind of an inverse of what the Big 12 is doing, where they're trying to increase their conference games. I think it kind of shows your point that you had at the end of the tournament all year about how the ACC was just simply weak. And I think it shows the ACC knows that the conference is kind of in a weak point right now.
Yeah.
So you need more out-of-conference games to kind of boost your resume, because the ACC is not going to do it for you. And I think it just goes to prove the Big 12 continues to be on top. And that is all I had for you today, Damon. That was it.
Arizona loses a walk-on, I believe, as well, in Will Kukendall. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. He's going to Baylor.
Wow.
And in the post, Kevin, he says he's receiving a full ride scholarship to go to Baylor.
I wish it was like the cartoons where like my blinks would make a noise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's how I was feeling. Yeah. Yeah, that's how I was feeling. I was like, wait, what? But yeah, shout out to Will Kendall. Good for him.
Yeah. Shout out. But kind of an interesting move there from the Baylor Bears. But
very interesting.
Certainly is. We keep it interesting here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Thank you so much to everybody who joined us today. Make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Road to 50K starts now. Be there, be square, help us out. And if you are in the chat, like I said, drop us a like. You can follow my guy Kevin at KevoPost. That's KevoPosts. You can follow me at Damon Dog. That's DAWG on the end of that guy. And of course, as I said, you can follow our show account at PHNX_Wildcats. It might be Michael. I'm just basing off of what his tweet says, brother. He literally said, he said, I will be receiving a full ride scholarship. Let's get this tweet word for word here. After a great official visit and receiving a full ride scholarship, I will be transferring to Baylor University.
Nice.
Maybe it is an academic scholarship, but just
the
way he tweeted that out makes it seem like it's not. But
maybe that was intentional.
It confused the troops a little bit. I get it. Keep things interesting. And as I said, we keep things interesting. We'll catch you next time on the Thursday edition of the AZ Wildcats podcast. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Become a diehard for the Glockenspiel.
Y'all silly like the mayor.